Hello everyone and welcome back to Xbox Nation. My name is Fletcher and this is the video where we take a look at the upcoming games for this week and to see if any of them are worth your time and or money. We have quite a hefty week with tons of highly anticipated games, including the largest indie launch of this year. Let's dive in and see what games you should sink your teeth into for this week. First up, you may think that I'm showing you Mouse PI for Hire. However, believe it or not, this is a completely new and different experience. Bad Cheese is a psychological horror game that is inspired by the eerie charm of 1920s animation, and it's honestly pretty mind-blowing. In this game though, you play as a mouse who's trying to keep the peace in the family household while mum's away, with your goal being to avoid the wrath of your dysfunctional dad. As part of this, you'll have to complete various household tasks and ultimately navigate your way around a homestead with many corpses in its closets. There is actually a very short demo available for Bad Cheese on Steam already, and has incredibly positive reviews based on the 119 people who have already voted on it. The overall atmosphere of this game is getting a lot of praise in particular so far, so it might be worth diving into when it launches this week. Friends vs. Friends is an awesome looking indie that combines combat and deck building with all the frenetic fun of an online player versus player shooter. Your powers and weapons and debuffs in this one are all played from your card deck. This basically means you can become a titan, summon friendly turrets, steal health with vampire bullets, or just give your opponent a big friggin' head. You earn all of these new cards, level them up, and then unlock new characters with unique skills in chaotic 1 vs 1 or 2 vs 2 game modes. I'm usually a big fan of these sort of experiences, and if you love Neon White but were looking for a PvP aspect, then you'll most likely adore this brand new game. It does land on the same day as Bad Cheese, so two very different games for you to check out for this week. Metal Eden is arriving on Xbox with a kind of ferocity that really demands your attention. This sci-fi shooter puts you in control of Asuka, a hyper-augmented android that's sent on a last chance mission into a vast machine-dominated city known as Mobius. Every encounter here will feel like a test of speed and precision, as you'll be wall running across neon structures, grappling between skyscrapers, and then chaining together dashes with bursts from your jetpack to survive the chaos. Honestly, I think the combat really does thrive on momentum here, but its most striking feature looks to be the ability to rip cores from enemies mid-battle. Between its vertical playgrounds, its punishing firefights, and a really heavy cyberpunk atmosphere, Metal Eden doesn't look just fast, it feels dangerous, stylish, and unlike anything else I've seen on the horizon. If you are interested, it does land this week on the 2nd of September, and a demo is still up right now if you want to try it. Developer Prophecy Games has just released Deadzone Rogue out of early access over on PC, and it's finally coming to our Xbox consoles this week. If you are wondering though, this game is essentially a roguelike first-person shooter, and what's more, there is a demo that you can play right now on your Xbox to get a feel for its action prior to its launch. It does look pretty cool, a little bit id Software with a kind of Overwatch lacquer to some of the colours and surfaces. You're blasting aliens in a very frantic way indeed, plus you'll be exploring an environment that looks like a cool alien spaceship. I always love seeing these sort of roguelike experiences, even though the market does seem to be swamped with them these days, but this one has incredibly positive reviews over on Steam, so it's definitely worth keeping your eye on. One game I really wasn't familiar with until making this video was the Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hell, and yes, it is another roguelike, but then again it's a horde survivor game with some pretty top-notch graphics. I still don't know much about this title, but from doing some research for this video, you have to essentially choose one of the damned heroes and then attempt to pass God's test by fighting your way through waves of mythical adversaries. Obviously, one of the biggest draws for this title though will be that Norse setting, as it's really never been explored in this format before, but also the meta progression, which seems to be pretty lengthy, so there's always something to do out the gate. Reviews over on PC seem really positive, but some do question the lack of enemy variety, so I do recommend you have a bit more of a look at this one if you are intrigued before picking it up. Adventure of Samsara is a 2D Metroidvania set within the universe of the Atari 2600 classic and is set to launch this week on the 4th of September. And to be honest, I'm still kind of surprised that they're keeping this release date, as the next game I'm going to highlight is an absolute whopper. Still, this is a pretty unique looking experience, and it does look to feel similar to Shadow Labyrinth, which released earlier this July. While Shadow Labyrinth didn't use pixel art, as it was more of a sort of Metroidvania but in the Pac-Man universe, I did enjoy playing the game because it felt like a tribute to an older era of gaming that I truly love. Still, it seems like Adventure of Samsara is keeping in the same vein with that sort of older era platforming magic, and I'm really digging what I've seen so far. The result is looking like a proper tribute to a famous retro game that also independently stands on its own. I am kind of intrigued to see how this one plays out on release, and you'll have to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. I did mention it in yesterday's video, and yes, I'm going to mention it once again. Hollow Knight Silksong is almost here and is quite easily the most anticipated game release of the entire week and possibly for the entire year. In this one though, you take control of the lethal hunter called Hornet and will battle through a kingdom ruled by Silksong. Of course, we will have to prepare to battle mighty foes and then solve ancient mysteries as we basically ascend on a deadly pilgrimage to the kingdom's peak. This is the epic sequel, of course, to Hollow Knight, and with that comes all new lands, new powers, vast hordes of bugs and beasts for us to fight, and so much more. I have been delving back into Hollow Knight again since we got this release date, and I'm so bloody pumped for Silksong for this week. Again, this one does land day one onto Xbox Game Pass, so it's a huge week for all of us Game Pass subscribers. Hell Is Us is an incredibly interesting experience, and it's one that I did get to play personally over the past couple of weeks, and I have a ton of thoughts about this experience. Landing on the 4th of September, you'll be dropped into the world of Hedea, and things are far from normal. Believe it or not, this one is part Souls-like, part adventure game, and part detective simulator, but this gargantuan puzzler is very dense, immaculately detailed, and devilishly dark. Honestly, you won't play anything like it this entire generation. Hell Is Us does not actually feature a traditional map or marker system. Instead, almost everything you need to navigate this world is in its environmental details. It really is such a unique approach, and it works so bloody well, which honestly I was actually quite surprised about. I highly do recommend it, and I will be bringing you my review tomorrow, so stay tuned for that video. This week marks the arrival of Void Crew on our Xbox consoles, bringing its chaotic court roguelike action. Up to 4 players will basically band together as cloned warriors, each handling essential roles like piloting, gunning, repairing or scavenging, or navigating the treacherous space. Every mission though will definitely throw something new your way, so you can expect unexpected hazards, brutal enemies, and also colossal bosses that demand fast thinking and trust in your crew. The sinister enemies known as the Hollow aren't your only challenge. Keeping your starship intact under fire is a constant battle, with upgrades and resource management happening right in the middle of the action. Between dodging enemy barrages, patching holes, and also scrambling just for survives, there's never a calm moment in this experience. It's already been pretty celebrated by its PC players, but Void Crew's Xbox launch is the perfect chance for you to dive into this unpredictable but high energy adventure. Cronos The New Dawn lands onto Xbox this week, and is promising one of the year's most fascinating horror experiences. This one though is mixing sci-fi strangeness with psychological dread, and it really is already turning heads for its striking atmosphere and originality. Basically, you play as a traveller, an agent of the mysterious collective, tasked with combing through a devastated future world in search of bizarre temporal rifts. These anomalies pull you back into 1980s Poland, a chilling and unexpected setting that gives Cronos a really distinctive identity within the survival horror genre. The game though will lean heavily onto story-driven exploration, its eerie moments and encounters designed to unnerve rather than comfort you. For horror fans, this Xbox debut could be unmissable, especially since previews have been so bloody strong since this one's been revealed. This week also marks the arrival of Daemon x Machina Titanic Scion on our Xbox consoles, and it's a sequel that looks to double down on speed, spectacle, and style. Rather than easing all of us players in, it looks to throw you straight into the cockpit of an Arsenal, which is a towering mech that can be endlessly tuned and customized. Of course, every skirmish in this game will feel like controlled chaos, with weapons blazing, shields breaking, and also enemies swarming in cinematic anime-inspired fashion. But Titanic Scion isn't just about relentless firefights. Between battles, the world does open up to you, offering quieter stretches where you'll be able to take on the odd job, experiment with all your different loadouts, and then scavenge for resources that fuel your next upgrade. It looks like a pretty sharp blend of downtime and devastation, and I know quite a few of you are quite interested in this one when it lands later this week. DeTechtive 2112 drops onto Xbox this week on the 5th of September, and it puts you into a rain-soaked, neon-drenched England of the future. This is where you take control of Detective Matthew Wallace, who takes on some off-the-record cases. Having a further look into this one, it does have 5 standalone investigations, and you'll navigate moody isometric environments, each dripping with that glorious cyberpunk atmosphere and moral ambiguity. It honestly looks pretty lovely visually, and I always sort of love these smaller detective experiences, so I kind of had to do some more digging on my part. Strangely, this one does include a court mode, which I kind of really wasn't expecting, as it allows you to work out investigations and so much more with 3 other players. If you're craving some sort of noir mystery in a grim futuristic world, Detective 2112 might be worth a look at. Do note though that it currently has mixed reviews over on Steam since its launch, and that's due to its incredibly short runtime of just over an hour. Well, we are seeing one of the countless yearly sports updates landing this week as NBA 2K26 launches towards the end of this week. Now, I will say right off the cuff, but I'm not a basketball fan by any means, and I have absolutely no clue why people find this enjoyable. But then again, I know many of you are really excited for this one, and it does have a rather large following. Upon doing some more research for this game though, I can see that the largest update made was for the My Career mode, which now includes a revamped city experience and some brand new progression systems. Of course, alongside this, there'll be the usual changes to gameplay, including the likes of movement, fluidity, and so much more, to basically make it the best outing within the series. I am kinda keen though to hear if any of this sounds good to any of you NBA fans, so let me know in the comments below. Whilst down there though, if you did enjoy this video, do smash that like button, and also subscribe for more Xbox content like this every single day. As mentioned, I have a lot of reviews and content coming up over this week, including Hell Is Us, Silksong, and so much more, so don't miss out on those videos. Whilst you're here though, and if you do want to check out some more Xbox content, why don't you check out the video on screen now, as I did cover the top 15 games that are coming to Xbox and Game Pass this September.